All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Let me fix the light here. So we're gonna do something new, so that way, because there's a lot of questions within the hobby. I've been getting a lot of emails lately because we're doing a lot of cross promoting to Facebook, TikTok, and all of the social media. If I'm gonna grow, I have to post on there. So I'm doing like three times the work these days, but with the new areas of potential, it's going to come down to there being more questions from a newer audience. So in the YouTube um, platform, we're going to take a look at some questions that other folks have thrown out there, and we're going to keep it kind of discreet. Maybe we'll go off of like a first name basis on a lot of these. There are a few images, albeit not the best photos for this exercise, but in any event, I think it's going to be good, and we could all kind of gain a little something out of it. Now, a lot of these questions have come through Facebook Messenger and things like that within the last, I don't know, I would say 48 to 72 hours. Okay, they're all relatively fresh. I've addressed a lot of these already, but wanted to take the time to discuss these with you because we all, as kind of like newer collectors that maybe don't 100% understand the hobby, there's going to be those questions that seem like universal in nature to a lot of people who just aren't as educated in numismatics, and that's fine. I love talking to folks who are brand new, so that way it's easier to lead someone who is green, rather than someone that maybe has been in it 6 months to a year, and then they're kind of like dead set in their way. They think they have it all figured out, but still they have so much to learn. And it doesn't matter who talks to them; they got this chip on their shoulder. So yeah, it's not that I try and avoid those folks at all. It's just I prefer to work with the newer folks because it's easier to mold them if they do want to pursue this hobby a little bit deeper. And it's I've seen a lot of new people grow over time, because of such things. So we have this first question here. This is from Harry. Hi, Sean. I was looking at your coins on TikTok and the 19, and keep in mind, this is a Facebook Messenger post. And the 1992 D penny close AM issue. Is there also an issue on that coin where it says United States of America on the reverse? Uh, Question: the of is not stamped clearly, and the last S of the states is barely there because I have a 1990 penny like that also. Plus, I found a 1985 penny with a reverse showing through on the obverse, you say, and Lincoln's head on the reverse. I can't find any information on this type of penny. I'm new to this. If you interested, I could send you a picture of it. Okay, so we did ask for photos for this gentleman because if you have questions, it's always wise to accompany them with some sort of like photographic visual evidence, right, of what you have. It's going to be easier for me to either A, attribute that variety, or B, diagnose the error, okay, if both apply. Or there's that dreaded C, post-mint damage, all right, which is, we don't want to hear that our coin is damaged, obviously, and I get it, right? We want to catch that lightning in a bottle first time around. So again, it's all about education. That's where a lot of the heightened success is going to come from. Is if you take the time to nurture the overall knowing aspect of the hobby. So let's talk a little bit about the 1992 D Lincoln Cent Close AM. Okay, it's not an issue; it's a variety. What the men had done by mistake was that they implemented reverse proof dies to produce coins that were made for circulation. Now, those are traditionally referred to as business strike coins. Typically, the A&M in America on the reverse of that date is going to be wide, right? Where there's a the noticeable gap in between those two letters at the very foot of those letters. But there's also instances where you could come across A&M where they're touching at the bottom, and that's kind of been the main point of the coin back when it was first discovered. Hey, we found some of these coins where the A&M are touching. They discovered one, and then after a while, a second one came around, but they weren't popping out as frequently as what some people speculate they are. So after a while, they designated it this close AM variety, all right, because they've understood by now, or by then, it was probably a year or two after it was discovered, that the reverse die was the same as a proof reverse die. So that is that. Now, the weakness of the word of and a letter in the word states, that's not as clearly struck, or maybe it's weakly struck, is normal on these coins. Could be for any sort of reason, maybe a little bit of a clogged die issue, which is quite common on Lincoln cents of the 90s. We see them actually quite a bit. Could be a strike through issue with a little bit of grease on the die. Again, that's not indicative of the close AM Denver or Philadelphia coins. You could see that on just about any date, on any mint mark, on any given day. All right. Now, I've searched through thousands of BU rolls to this point where I've seen it all. All right. Have never found a close AM 92D or P Lincoln in a BU roll. I was hoping that one day I would, but yeah, it's not possible. At least to me, it's not. It's possible. It's just my time for looking at those has come to a close. And Harry had also mentioned that his 1990 Lincoln Cent is also the same. Again, it's a common issue that we see on most dates of the 90s, whether it's P or D. He also found an 82 penny with a reverse showing through on the obverse, you say, and Lincoln's head on the reverse. It could be either one of two things. It could be a double struck, rotated in collar error, which is a legitimate US Mint error, and it's incredibly expensive and should be taken seriously. If you know you have it, Harry, you need to send us photos of that coin. It could be something ginormous. Or it could be what they call a post-mint damage garage coin, where unscrupulous individuals would take a number of coins and stack them end to end, and squeeze them together using a vise. They're smack with a hammer or do something with that, so that way they would transfer the impressions of each coin onto each other. And that's kind of like another way that you could replicate a double struck in collar type error scenario. So, yeah, pretty interesting. Harry would love to see photos of that. I mean, it's pretty easy to notice a coin of that caliber if it's post-mint damage or the real deal. Usually when they're viced together or squeezed together, you're going to have a considerable amount of rim damage, plus other things too will also tell the tale of the tape. So let's see, the next one that we have here. So this one right here, I believe her name's Kathy. Let me go ahead and double check here. Yeah, Kathy had asked, I have a few of the Bicentennial quarters. How do I find a dealer? I would like to get rid of them as I'm not in good health and going to be 76 in a few days. So let's make something perfectly clear. Bicentennial quarters, dated 1976. They have that really neat dual date on the front of the coin. And they have a completely different reverse. They were, at the time, something that was they were a little bit ahead of their time when they produced this, because it was like, the similarities between this one singular date and the upcoming Statehood Quarter Series, which, by the way, was 23 years later. I mean, it was over 2 decades later. They're very close. All right. Some would say the bicentennial quarter is kind of like the first pseudo commemorative coin that they've released in circulation. Now, just so we're clear, the bicentennial quarters was a program that spanned the course of 24 months, not 1 year. And that's the big reason why that there were no actual quarters, half dollars, and Ike dollars produced with the date 1975 on them. All right, some of you may not know that, because the mint at the time was pulling all of their efforts into creating this really bitchin' bicentennial quarter program. All right, to the point where they were producing the quarters in 1975 and also inserting them into proof sets during 1975. They still issued a proof set in 1975 because they had the Lincoln cent, the dime, and a nickel also in there that actually bore the date 1975. But the actual business strike quarters of 1976, the drummer boys as we call them, were produced in mass. You know, they made hundreds of millions of these. They were not particularly rare. And to this day, you could go through, you know, probably a roll or two of quarters and end up finding a bicentennial drummer boy quarter. They're that common. Now, there's a few things you need to know. There's the two main cherry pickers guide varieties that can only be found on Denver minted examples. Okay, you have the FS 101 and the FS 102. Now, if you need clarification, you can always go to a website like varietyvista.com and look at photos that they have on there. They're really, really good photos too. Lots of close-ups. You'll know what you're looking for. But outside of that, the only way that would make these quarters more valuable is if you had a really pristine example. Okay, and the only way you're going to know that, it's not that we're going to take your word for it. You actually have to go and send these off to a third-party authenticator like PCGS, NGC, Annex. And there's a certain grade level that they have to achieve. At the very least, they have to be a mid-state 67 plus. Even 67s of a bicentennial quarter isn't worth a whole lot. It would the ones that are worth the most amount of money, I believe, are mid-state 68. They're a top grade. They're highly coveted in the registry set market. And you know, aside from that, if you have a whole bunch of them, you need to first look through all the Denvers, grab a really nice jeweler's loop. You need to go on Variety Vista, look at those close-up images of those two doubled die reverses, or obverses, sorry. They're on the front of the coin. And, you know, just make sure that you're not going to toss a valuable FS 101 back. But if you need the money, Kathy, I would suggest just go ahead and rolling up the quarters, taking them to the bank, and then just be done with them because they produced so many of them back, you know, 30, 40, 47 years ago. Is it 47 years ago already? Jeez. I'm almost that old. So, anyways, thank you, Kathy, for your question. The next one that we have here, who is this? This is going to be someone. I don't know, because I went through a whole bunch. Oh, okay. I think I know who this is. This is from Latrina. Hello, I have these 2010 pennies I found in Uncle's old change, but inside sealed plastic. Can you tell me more? I don't want to take out of the plastic for fear of touching them. My name is, you put your name on there, Latrina. I'm sorry. It's okay. Thank you. I could send pictures. All right. So here's a few of the pictures here. Yeah, very nice small pictures, by the way. Let's see here. There you go. All right, so here's a couple of 2010s. One is the Philadelphia; it doesn't have a mint mark, and a 2010 Denver. All right, so that's the first one there. You can kind of see a little bit of the plastic. You do see the word Littleton on there, which you know that kind of doesn't bode well for the collectability of these coins, and I'll tell you why here in a second. Here's a little bit better close up of one of the cellophane packages. So it does say Littleton Coin Company. They're based in New Hampshire. 2010 P&D set, uncirculated 60. That's just a generic grade that they put on those. So here's what we have here. Unfortunately, Latrina. Let me go ahead and I think there's other pictures here as well. Here's another one. There you go. So here's what we have here. Littleton Coin Company is a company that's been around for a long time, for many decades. And they've made it a business of producing coins to new collectors at an extremely high rate of price. It's but with these coins, I would probably say that these are kind of like bottom of the barrel, kind of like they're almost freebies in my personal opinion. But they are a subscription service. They'll send you what they call coins on demand. They'll go ahead and send you a batch of coins. And when you're starting out with Littleton, they're going to send you stuff that's of really low value. But they're going to want you to pay for that batch of coins. Oftentimes, they'll kind of start you out in that $20 to $30 level, and they'll send you like a beat up Indian Ed cent and a few of these other things like this. So when you do receive things like this from Littleton Coin Company, and the only thing I have one good thing to say about them, and I'll address that toward the end of this question here. It's gonna be your choice to keep these coins, but if you do keep them, you have to pay for it. You can do it online now. Back in the day, it used to be send me a check, for whatever the invoice value of these coins that they sent you for. And as long as they kind of stair step you, so they'll start you out a $20, $30 batch of coins. You send us back, or you send back your payment or your check or however you paid for these things. And they feel confident in sending you another batch. All right. Usually this is going to be about 30 to 60 days later. Only in that particular instance, the invoice goes up. They might send you like a silver barber quarter. They're going to kind of step you up into better older coins, and then your invoice is going to go up to maybe 40, $50. All right, and then you go and pay for all that. You like it; it's gravy. You enjoy the coins. You pay for that invoice. The next group of coins that they send you, it might even be $100. All right, and then they're going to send you better coins, but the coins they send you is nowhere near close to value of what the invoice is. They might send you like say $30 in coins with an invoice of $100. All right, so that's kind of like one of the bad news things about Littleton Coin Company. That's the blight of this entity in the hobby, is that they overcharge for the coins. However, the one thing I could tell you that works with this model is they get new collectors in. All right. In spite of whatever you may think about Littleton Coin Company after your first like 3, 4 batches of coins, because at that point you're going to know you overpaid, right? And eventually it stops, and then you have to call them and say, "Hey, stop sending me these things," because it becomes way too degenerate. People have overpaid for coins from Littleton for many years. I've even bought a few of them. So yeah, just be careful with these. And you can totally tell because they've used the same cellophane plastic for decades. Since the 80s and 90s, it's been this same way every single time. So the coins have very little value, Latrina, and I would say just hold on to them. They're not going to make you rich. You cannot retire off of these. And, you could still find 2010 Lincoln Shield cents out in circulation that are brand spanking new that are still worth about a penny. All right. So that's where we're at there. Sorry I couldn't deliver better news for you. Here's another close-up image of 2010 P&D right there. So nothing really to write home to mother about, for sure. And there you go. That is Latrina's question. And we're going to kind of end things off on this one. I actually like this one. Very promising. This one is actually from Matthew. Matthew. Okay, so we got a trio of banknotes here. Can you help me with value of 50? So there's a $50 bill on there. That looks real nice. It's a much earlier dated piece. A small head design. That's what they call it. They started those in 1928. Series date wise, and a pair of $2 bills. The $2 bills, it's nothing there. It's face value. I don't see fancy serial numbers or anything like that on those. Here's an actual close up of the notes. So the $50 bill up top, it looks to be a 1934 series. From what I could see, you see the series date there. The pictures are a little bit pixelated because they come as small as a thumbnail, and then I have to blow them up. All right, so the resolution just sucks when you're trying to get pictures off of Facebook Messenger. But what you can see off of this note is that there is some annotation, is what they call it. That's where someone had written something on the note. It doesn't belong on the note. They wrote a number 4 on there, okay, which generally writing and annotations does affect the value of the note. All right, so it's I believe it's a light green seal, or it could be a lime. A lime green seal is that yellowy green that people love to collect. And usually with something like this, they have actually pretty good value. The lime green seals sell sometimes for double face value in grades of very fine condition, which is good. That's good news for a collector. Here's a little bit of a back image on these notes here. As you can see, the top note does have a fair amount of circulation, but I would probably net grade it maybe a VF20, which is not bad for that note. Even with the annotation, because I know there are experts that, and even grading companies can also work with that. They can remove that handwriting. They're gonna have a harder time if it's an ink, and you see a lot of handwriting in pencil. That might be a little bit easier, but don't remove the annotation yourself. Don't erase it because it's going to pull the paper, and you can tell that it's been worked on, and they're going to consider it damage. So I would say just keep the note as is. If you need to sell it, you could probably at this grade get about 70, 75 bucks for it. A little bit over face. Again, you're not going to retire off of it. But it's really cool to see a note like that that's been saved, I would assume, out of circulation. Whereas a lot of these generally are kept by the banks. They're sent off for destruction, and there goes another collectible piece off the market. So there you go. A few little snippets of some things that have come through the whatchamacallit, the Facebook Messenger, and hopefully you guys got a few takeaways from a few of these questions submitted by these folks. Thank you guys again to everyone that submitted these. You will get a URL of this video, and hopefully you got what you need out of it. So thank you guys again for coming on board, tuning in, and hopefully you got a few takeaways from this. As always, Coinaholics, we are collecting together. I haven't said that in a while, so we are definitely due for it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my content, the video, my channel, and everything like that. Again, I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, so I'm all over the place. And that's going to go ahead and wrap things up for this episode. You guys take care, have a good one, and I shall see you on the next coin video. Keep on hunting.